Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm laughing because I've done this about twice now, and so as I was like deleting the old recordings so I don't get confused about which one, post the wrong one, I saw that recording was 143, and I was a little sad because I was like, every time I see 143, I tell the universe that I love it. I say, I love you, universe. I love you too. I got that from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. That 143 is I love you, I and then love you, 143. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to delete this one, but I don't want to. And then I started recording, and it's now recording 143, even though I have a recording 144 and 145. So just like those little fun things that happen in reality, okay? Because I'm saying that because reality has been it has been on 500,000. I usually say reality's on 100,000, but I'm gonna have to give it its props because it's definitely been on 500,000 recently. Okay, I'm talking about my personal life, and then of course more seriously in the world. I just don't have any words for that, and that's really heart-wrenching to even think about right now. So I'm doing what I can in the astrals, trying to help out babies and grandmas and young people who unfortunately lost their lives as casualties of war. And here you're going to hear it if you have never heard it before. Hear it again, that there is no such thing as a holy war. There are always unnecessary and innocent casualties to war. And so there is no such thing as a holy war. And that's a whole nother topic for another day, but we're not here to talk about that right now. I've been saying my reality has been really crazy because I have a friend and we have been putting numbers together, decoding reality and all different type of things. And that's a lot. And I've been researching into physical mediumship and ectoplasma, and have been really, realizing that I have experienced some of these things throughout life. It's always interesting because I think back to childhood and not really as much teenage years, but definitely after I had this, awakening experience, which I'll post about that at some point on the channel because that was wild. That is going to be pretty long too. So I don't know when I'm gonna do that, but I will though. But after this awakening experience, there's a lot of shadow work, and I feel like initially when you're talking about awakening, you're talking about awakening to shadow work, which at its very basic core level, shadow work is pretty much seeing all the things that have been fed into your subconscious, since you were little, maybe even in utero, things that have been passed down through genetics, which is a thing, through DNA, which is wild. And then sorting it out and saying, okay, even though I have experienced this and I believe this at a point in time, is it serving me on my self-image? Is it serving me in how I interact with others? Is it serving me as far as where I want to go in life? And then making the necessary changes if it does not line up with that, which for a majority of people, most of it does not line up with where they're actually trying to go in life. And so that's pretty much what shadow work is at a very basic core level. That's probably what I would sum it up with, when I think about witchcraft, I've studied so many different belief systems, ideologies, religious texts. I studied some crazy stuff. And pretty much an overall view of what witchcraft is pretty much focused intention, and then projecting your will on an outcome. And there's many different variations of how people do this, and different tools that they utilize to do these things. There's people with extreme personalities, there's people with mental illness and personality disorders that do things, and then there are people who are just kind of down to earth doing things. And so I like to kind of try to get to the core of something to get an overall view of what it is, right? So yeah, I kind of forgot why I was mentioning that. I kind of forgot why I was mentioning that. I just kind of went off into like this stream of thoughts. But that's probably my sign to like, okay, DeeDee, get to what you're talking about today, okay? Because sheesh. I've got a grand air trine in my chart. I actually have 2 of them. And so getting lost in the sauce is definitely a daily struggle, okay? Oh, okay, let me focus myself. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about a very interesting dream. And there was something that sparked me to want to talk about this, but I cannot remember it right now because it was really, really going on yesterday. And almost like every day for me is like a year. So I don't remember exactly what sparked it, but I'm sure as I talk about it, it'll probably make sense. So let's go ahead and get into this very, very interesting story time. Well, this is actually a dream. It's not a story time. So in this dream, I was about 7 or 8 years old. I was a little girl, and I was running on the huge lawn of what looked like to me an English Convent school. Is that what they're called? Child. All of these words are similar to each other. Convent, right? Is it a convent that the nuns go to? It was that type of school. And I'm not going to even lie to you. There's this Masonic castle out in Hesse, Germany, called Louisalund. And there's a new school. So they have Louisalund, which is the castle that this Carl van Hessen built for his wife at the time. Okay. And then there's like a main house. This school to me personally looked like the main house. And it's interesting because that house right now is an all male school, I believe. But this one in my dream was an all female school. And I'm sure it's probably super relevant why I'm connecting the two. I don't know why, but I'm sure it's relevant. So I was on the lawn and it was like nighttime, and I had the feeling that, there were all the girls out there playing, and I was the last one to go inside. And it seemed like the other girls had like kind of rushed inside pretty quickly, and I was really, really dragging my feet. So I was the only one on the lawn. Okay. Now, the interesting thing about this dream or astral experience, because I think a lot of my dreams are astral experiences, like astral traveling, which is like traveling with your consciousness, and then astral projecting is where you take the like light body or astral body with you. So I think most of the time I'm actually astral traveling in my dreams, which is very interesting. So anyways, I had my consciousness as a 30-year-old woman in the body of the 7-year-old. Okay. And I could sense that there was a spirit next to me that was guiding me through this. So this energy that was standing next to me, I understood that they were having me see something that was very important for me to know. And so I remember the spirit telling me, don't make any big changes in this experience. And so it was a memory, but it was like an interactive memory, which was very trippy and very interesting. But yeah, it was an interactive memory. And so little things, wouldn't make a big deal. But of course, big things wouldn't make a big deal. So I was like, okay. So I went into the boarding school, and as I crossed the threshold into the door, I started to have the memories of, who I was in this time period. Now, the interesting thing is that there were quite a few people in this school. We'll just call it a school, but it was a convent. It all sounds very, very similar to each other. And it's really interesting because I wasn't even having I feel like I'm starting to get nasal congestion right now, which is very interesting because I did not have that a few minutes ago before I started talking about this. So excuse me if I start sounding nasally. I think that's very interesting. But anyway, so I went into this convent. I'm just going to call it a school because convent for some reason just sounds like a lot to say right now. So I went to this school, this nun school. Okay. These were nuns in here. So I can't remember exactly if they were Jesuit nuns or Ursuline nuns, but it was one of those type of Catholic nuns. Okay. So I went in there and I was remembering, and that's what I was going to say. A lot of these people in there were people that I know in this lifetime too. So a lot of them are not people that, like I still know, but people that I went to school with, which I thought was very interesting. And then I have a friend now who was not with me in that time period, but she was a teacher at this school. So I was about 7 years old, and I understood that this was a nunnery, a school. So I want to make that clear. This was a school, nunnery, convent kind of thing. So we went there, we learned lessons, we learned, math, science, blah, 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 blah. We learned the Bible, all of these things. The difference, though, was that this is a very advanced place. So also there was, I don't even know if I would say like a segment of the school, I guess, where these women had babies. So the nuns had babies, the girls there grew up and had babies. So that was like a really big difference of how it is now. So they had babies, and I don't know what happened to the dads, and I don't know how they planned out these babies, right? Because I was only 7, so I didn't have all that type of information because that was far off for me at that point. So I did not know about the process of getting the babies or what happened to the dads or anything like that. Excuse me. But what I did know, picking up on conversations as the day was going on, what I did know is that they were plotting through astrology what baby was going to come through. Now, this was super interesting. They had information on astrology where they would be able to plot out by the birthday, the day that the baby came. They would know who that baby was in a past life. And then they also would give the mom and then the teachers and, everyone. It was very much a network situation. They would give everyone kind of like a printout and like a, overall view of that person who is reincarnating, what their life was like before, and then their new astrology chart. So they would, compare and contrast this new astrology chart to the old astrology chart so that the astrology would give them an information on what this person was coming back to Earth for and what they needed to do and focus on in order to clear, quote unquote, their karma, right? Because karma is, an Indian, Eastern thought. I mean, so are the Abrahamic religions, but, it's like a India concept. I think it's Hindu, but I really don't know the difference between Hindu and Vedic and any other thing. So that's not being kind of facetious. It's really funny because I connect to that pantheon of beings, but I still haven't learned like the basics, which is true DeeDee fashion. So anyways, they would be able to tell you what that baby was going to go through, what things you should focus on, what programs and what classes to put the baby in, all type of things. And from what I could tell, looking through a 7-year-old's eyes, it seemed to be a pretty good working system. Honestly, it seemed to be a pretty good working system. So on this particular day that I was there, what was going on is that there was a gentleman who showed up, and he was with like the newspapers or something like that. So there's like a memory of like a week before this day, in my astral, when I was there, a week before this, there was like a news article with a popular person. I don't know in what type of way, because I can't remember, but they had talked about this school and what they were doing to bring light to the issue that the school was doing, astrology and things like that and helping people out, but thought it was a disservice because men were not allowed to be there. And that boys also should be able to know their astrology and things like that. So this person a week ago had written something to complain about the fact that men were not allowed in this school, right? Which I understand, which I do understand. So on this particular day, the person that wrote that article was actually coming to the school to sit down with like our, what do they call them? Headmaster, like, the headmaster at the school, which was a woman. Okay, so head mistress, is that what they call them? Or, something like that. So he was coming there to talk about it. So I saw him. He had his article. He had his notebook and pen, his glasses and everything. And I was sitting in the hallway listening in on their conversation they were having in her office. And so pretty much her viewpoint on it was that this was an age-old tradition that men are not allowed. And so, in the spirit of her foremothers and our foremothers, they were not going to open the school up to men. And I'm saying our foremothers because everyone that was at this school, there were very, very few exceptions to it. Everyone at this school was related to each other. Cousins, aunties, sisters, things like that. We were related to each other. There's very few exceptions of people who are not related to us. Okay. Oh, look, somebody has Oba on the back of their car, on the back of their Mercedes. Interesting. Yeah, and I just want to say that even though it looked like, like an English building or European or whatever, there are many different people there. So I was still black, whatever black is. I was still, highly melanated being, I guess. There were some Asian people there, white people, these stereotypical terms that we use. My point is just that it was a diverse group, but we were related to each other, okay? So this guy came out of the meeting and he was PO'd to say the least, okay? He was very upset, and I think that he wrote the article assuming that if he brought it into the light that it would like kind of, force them to start diversifying. But this was not 2023, okay? This was not 2023, okay? They were not afraid of being canceled, okay? So he was perturbed. He was upset. Like, he was stomping out. Like, he was not happy about this. Like I said, which I can understand because it was doing like a really good service. Now, here comes the problem, child, okay? This man was a part. Now, this is something that I did not know in the memory. This is what I think this guide brought me back to see specifically, okay? And we're going to start getting into like, the dream is almost over, but we're going to get into a little bit of touchy topics in a minute, okay? Because it's going to take a transition to something, and I'm not exactly sure what it's talking about, but one thing about my astral experiences is that even though I don't always know what they're talking about, they are always spot on. So I don't know how it's true, but it's true in some type of way, okay? Okay, so anyways, so what we did not know in the memory, but I was able to see it since it got brought back around, is that this guy was a part of a fraternal society. I'm starting to get really, really congested. He was a part of a fraternal society. It's almost like getting kind of like hard to even talk, which is so interesting. Let me see if I can get my let me get a swig of this green tea right here. Oh. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see how that is. That's so interesting. So interesting, the different things that happen, with your mouth and throat and nose when you're talking about certain things. Because it's not the first time that's happened. That happens sometimes when I'm talking about certain stuff, and I've noticed that, which is very interesting to say the least. But anyways, he was a part of some type of fraternal order, society, whatever. And so he wasn't just speaking on behalf of himself. This is a meeting that they had amongst themselves that we should diversify. And it's like, when you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous, because it is. Like, they decided in their group that our group should diversify. And they were upset because it did not go how they thought it was going to go. Which I found to be quite interesting. So what did they decide to do? Oh, God. What did they decide to do? And I haven't even looked this up to see if this is a thing that actually happened, because sometimes I have certain dreams, I'm I don't know if I'm gonna keep that up on the channel, because a year later, 2 years later, come to find out that's exactly what was going on, and you're spilling the beans on stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, because I have not looked it up yet. I have so many dreams that there's kind of this synastry with life that's going on, and so eventually I'm I should look this up, and then come to find out it's connected to a whole bunch of stuff, and it's wild and blah 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 blah. So I am gonna look it up at some point to see if I can find it. And it's funny, because at first I'm how in the world am I going to find this? And then I always seem to find it, which is also very fun. That's kind of the fun side of life. It's very theatrical, and I do enjoy certain theatrics. I don't like drama, but I can work with theatrics though. So anyways, child, they came back later on that night, child, and they literally lit it on fire. I kid you not. They literally came back, and it took some type of cloths or something that were on fire, and was throwing it into the windows, and everyone had to run. And it was so reckless. It was at night, people were sleeping, and all you see is just women and girls running for their lives. And the interesting thing about this dream is that the friend that I know now, she had a similar experience where she went to a reading, and someone told her that she was a headmaster at an all-girls school. And I didn't know that reader. I didn't know she was going to get that reading, nothing like that. But the reader told her that. And I was yeah, that's exactly what I saw. That's exactly what I saw in my dream. So I know that this happened, but I don't know if it's look, this Oba guy came back again. Hey, Oba, if you don't know that Oba means king, I think it actually might be an Orisha as well. Actually, let me look that up, because maybe it's important. Oh, it's 909. I've been seeing 99. Me and my friend have been seeing 99. Child. Okay, so I think that's also an Orisha as well. I think Oba is a king, but Oba is a female Orisha. Yeah. Okay, so let's see, because they must have a message, because she came around. She came around twice. So Oba is the Orisha of the river Oba, whose sources lie near Ebon, where her worship originates. During the wars of the 19th century, her centers of worship moved to the more secure town Ogbomoso. She is traditionally identified as the senior wife of Shango. He's got so many wives, child. The third king of the Oyo Empire, and in Orisha. Oba was tricked by Oya or Oshun into cutting off her ear and trying to feed it to Shango. See, and then they always try to talk about, oh yeah, polyamorous relationships are so great and we work together. Please, child. Okay, and she is synchronized with Saint Catherine of Siena, which is actually really, really, really significant because I have connections to Joan of Arc. And I remember that Joan of Arc said that she was being led by Saint Michael and Saint Catherine of Siena. So that's very interesting. So her symbol is lightning, of course, like Shango, the sword or machete, the fly whisk, and water buffalo. Her color is pink. Oh, interesting. I thought that Oya's color was pink. I mean, she might also be pink too. Let me just see. Is Oya's color pink as well? Oh, they don't have her. They have the same things down here for Oya and Oba. Now, of course, I'm reading this off of Wikipedia, child, so take that with a grain of salt, because Wikipedia is... I wonder if that's why, whatchamacallit bit that man's ear off. I don't know why, but for some reason that made me think about, what is this man's name? Why is this car just stopped here? What is that man's name? Oh, Mike Tyson. Yeah, Mike Tyson. Hold on, let me see what a fly whisk is. A fly whisk. What is that? I've never heard of a fly whisk. Fly whisk for horses. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that was called a fly whisk. Associated with Shiva. Well, it's probably similar. Shiva. Interesting. Yeah, usually these fly whisk, mainly in my dreams, I see them attached, I see them with horsetails, or horsetail. That's kind of what they look like, a horse's tail. But I'm also talking about the herb horsetail. Okay. So anyways, that might be important. Relationship to other entities. The Oba River flows through Iwo. That is why the Iwo people are called the children of the river Oba. Iwo Olodo Oba. Okay, interesting. I haven't heard of Iwo. Osun State. Okay. Let me get back to what I was talking about. Okay. So anyways, yeah, they lit everything on fire and everybody was running, and it was really heart-wrenching, actually. I could feel the emotions and the fear, and everyone was scattering, and we just didn't know like what we're gonna do. Is all of our stuff with it was up in flames, and I remember just thinking, I hope that everyone got out. And I was in a rage, like at this young age of 7, I was such in a rage by these men. And I was like it was such a deep feeling of them being inconsiderate of life due to their jealousy and immaturity. So it was very, very heart-wrenching, actually, in the dream. I had a lot of emotions coming out of that dream. But that wasn't the only dream. So after I was running on the lawn, the same lawn that I went in from, we were running now, and there was one of the headmistresses, and she was holding my hand, and we're running across the lawn towards this row of trees and trying to figure out just what the next steps were, because everybody was in hysteria and it just came out of nowhere. And so, you know, it's kind of like, what do we do now? It was wild. And then the dream switched. And now I was up in the air. Now I had my body, even though I was up in the air, which I thought was very interesting. And that's why I assumed again that what I was seeing was some type of memory. Now, since I was hovering in the sky with my body, and this was open air, so I wasn't behind any clouds or anything, like somebody would have just seen me as a black woman just suspended in the air, and that would have been very freaky. So I knew that it was some type of memory, a very interactive one. And so since I was in the air, I couldn't tell who I was in this memory. Okay, so that's the first thing, because I was seeing it from a sky perspective, so I couldn't tell who I was in this memory. But next thing I know, I'm in there and it's clear skies, and I remember that I didn't really see any clouds, which I thought was interesting, mainly because there was a lot of water, and I knew that we were somewhere over water that was touching France somewhere, or a place near France or something. And I don't know if it was an island or if it was like a land on water or something like that. For some reason, I was getting like island vibes, or, you know, some type of land mass with water, because I remember there was like a, you know, land and then there was water. And it was almost like you could bring your boat right up to the water. I mean, right up to the land, and just get on. So I figured that it must have been like an island or something. So anyways, I saw these two women in this boat, okay? And I knew that they were running from something. So it went from this convent of girls and stuff running from this fire to these two women who were on a boat, and they were also running from something, okay? So their running was a little bit different, and I couldn't tell exactly what they were running from, but they were definitely running from like an angry mob of people or something. And so they were rushing to this land that I want to call island, but I don't remember there being any islands next to France. I don't know. And when I looked at the boat, I was like, oh, there's Mary and there's her cousin, Elizabeth. Now, in my head, I was thinking, oh, there's Mary Magdalene and her cousin, Elizabeth. Okay. But the women I was seeing, Mary Magdalene, the woman I was seeing was Mary, Queen of Scots. And she was pregnant. And then the next woman, Elizabeth, was like her sister. She must have had like a Elizabeth as a cousin or something like that. I'm gonna have to go back and read history, because I really and I was actually telling Ray this the other day. I'm like, we went through so much history and Spanish and stuff like that, baby, and I could tell you that I don't even remember probably 15% of that stuff. But she had to have like a Queen Elizabeth cousin, okay? Whoever that Queen Elizabeth was, I know there's like Queen Elizabeth the first, second, third, I think, and other Elizabeths. Like I know Elizabeth is a pretty common name, so I'm not sure which Elizabeth it was, but she was pregnant as well. Okay, so this cousin Elizabeth was, you know, maybe like, and it was reminiscent of the Bible story to me. She was like 7 months pregnant, and then the Mary Magdalene figure, this Mary Queen of Scots, was about 4-5 months pregnant. So their pregnancies are very close. And I remember as I was looking at them, I was like, why would they be coming to this island in France? And I remember saying to myself, which was like such a strange thought, but I remember it, and I was like, they were pregnant coming here? Like, for some reason, my brain couldn't comprehend that they were both pregnant at the same time and they were both coming to this island together. Because in my mind, I almost remembered it differently. Like, I I don't know if I thought that they weren't pregnant so close together. No, I think, no. What it was is that I thought that they weren't on the same boat pregnant at the same time. I thought that Elizabeth wasn't on the boat with her. For some reason, I don't remember Elizabeth going to the island with her. And I remember thinking, wow, she was not only on the boat, but she was also pregnant too. Like, it felt like something that I should have remembered, which is very interesting. But I was like, wow, they were on the same boat. I thought that Mary came first. I didn't remember that they were on the same boat, pregnant at the same time, and both coming to this, I'm just going to call it island or inlet or something like that. I'm going to go look that up and see what I'm talking about, because I'm just going based on the dream and what I knew in the dream. But I'm sure I'm going to go look it up, and it's probably going to be something crazy. And I will say that I'm not exactly sure about the whole bloodline of Mary and Jesus, Holy Grail, Templar stuff in that way. But I will say that this Mary Queen of Scots seemed to be very connected to Rennes de Chateau de Rennes. Is that what it's called? Hold on, let me see. Is that what it's called? Chateau de Rennes or Rennes de Chateau or something? Yeah. Rennes le Chateau. Ooh, it's cold out there right now, child. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if she was actually going there. Oh, yeah, they have this picture by francecomfort.com and Rennes Le Chateau, The Unsolved Mystery, France Comfort Holiday Parks. And they have this picture of, I guess, a street there. And this little tower that you see. So it's like a little, circular kind of tower, is almost exactly what the Louisa Lund Tower looks like. So I'll call that a tower. And then there's a separate mansion. So the mansion is what the coven. They did kind of coven type of stuff, but it, herbology, because that's pretty much witchcraft, right? Is intention using herbs. So tea could be witchcraft technically. If you set a really strong intention as you're drinking the tea, you are practicing witchcraft. We learned herbology, we learned about astrology, reincarnation, the stars, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So anyways, this tower is what the Louisa Lund Tower looked like. Yeah, so I don't know that this is where they were going, but I know that there was something very pivotal about Mary Queen of Scots' stay on this island kind of place or inlet or whatever it was. And it was very pivotal to something having to do with Rennes Le Chateau. It was connected in some type of way. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that because I thought it would be really interesting to put that out there. It's still a dream that I'm still trying to kind of like decipher among all the other dreams. But my hope is that eventually we'll start, talking about all our different dreams, and I'll go live and we can talk to each other, pull people into the live, talk about dreams, talk about themes and things like that. Really fun stuff. And I am going to get back to like a more structured podcast, but see what had happened was my baby was supposed to be in school, but my baby is not in school, okay? The last one, you guys, the last child to get in school. Oh my God. It's like it's almost Christmas. It's almost Christmas. Okay, it's almost Christmas. Almost. When this baby get in school, I'm going to feel like a brand new woman. It's been 8 years of children being at home. Almost, because it's not exactly true. We had to come out to Arizona just for the kids to be in school. Like, I kid you not. I could not get them into school and all making sense in New Orleans. It just was not happening. When we got to Arizona, all the kids were in school within a month. And then, of course, we had little Phoenix when we got out here. So, he's the last little nugget. Oh my goodness. All right, my friends. Well, that was the dream. And yeah, if you have anything to add to it, or you had similar experiences, you think that you could have been in there. You know, I have met so many people since I have moved to Arizona that I know I had past lives with, that I realized just how small the planet is. And so, like, you could hear this and you could have been one of the girls at school, child. That is an actual real possibility. You know, I've started saying this recently, that the truth is usually a lot stranger than fiction, and that has definitely been the case. Okay. All right, my friends. Well, that's what I have. Make sure that you do all the fun things that we do here on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, share, all those fun things. And I will be back soon with more dream times. Bye.